When I opened my eyes, there was still a bunch of mist in my brain. Just trying out the latest crop growth accelerator in the experiment room, why did he lie in this muddy field in the blink of an eye? Around the area is a broken thatched hut, with wind leaking from the roof, moss on the corners of the wall, and a smell is still lingering in the air. I pinched my arm and gasped in pain. This was not a dream. I got up, patted the soil on my body, and looked down. I was not wearing a white coat from the experiment room, but a coarse linen coat, torn and ragged, with a pair of straw sandals on my feet, which made my feet hurt. I was shocked and touched my face tightly. My hands were stubble, and I didn't have anything on my body, not even my phone. No, where's the signal tower here? Looking around, there are deserted fields, and there are several mountains and clouds everywhere, looking like they are separated from the world. Where is this? I said to myself, my voice trembling. A sudden ding sound in my brain, as if something was activated, and then a mechanical sound came to my brain. The agricultural system has been activated. The host forest is in full bloom. Current location, Pashi Village, Qingyun County. Time background, overlooking the ancient war period. System mission, use modern agricultural technology to build land and improve people's livelihood. The initial award, pack a portion of basic crop seeds. I was stunned. System? Traveling through time? Isn't this a plot that only exists in novels? But this sound is clear, and there are a bunch of data and interfaces in the brain, like a game panel, showing my attribute and task. I swallowed and tried to open my backpack, and sure enough, a virtual grid jumped out, and a small bag of seeds lying inside, marked high-yield rice seeds. Okay, since you are here, please feel free. I took a deep breath and accepted the reality of this resignation. After all, I studied agricultural technology, in my old profession. No matter whether it is modern or ancient, I can only endure myself. I looked around and found that this Pashi village was really worthy of its reputation. The roads in the village were covered with gravel, the houses were tilted, and the fields were covered with grass, and no one took care of the pressure. There were several villagers who were as thin as bamboo poles from far away, squatting in the field, their eyes as if they had lost their souls. I was about to go over and ask about the situation when a sudden drop of my foot and I almost fell to eat shit. When I looked down, I saw that it was a broken tread, with the iron heads growing on it and the wooden handle was almost broken. I lifted it up and weighed it, thinking that this thing is still useful. It is always stronger than empty-handed. As soon as he stood up, a heavy sound of footsteps came from his ears, accompanied by a loud shout, "Hey, new, stop!" I turned around and saw a strong man, with a beard on my face and a dark skin, and a big iron rod on my shoulders, walking towards me with a breath of vigor. He looked me up and down, and asked with his eyebrows, "Where are you? Why are you dressed like a beggar? There are not many food-raising people in our village." I felt nervous, but there was still a burst of laughter on my face, making myself look harmless. "Brother, my name is Lin Xiaofeng. I am lost when I pass by here and have lost everything on my body. Can I let me take a break in the village first? I won't eat for nothing, I will have fun." After hearing the strong, my eyebrows relaxed a little, but my face was filled with doubts. Fuck. What can you do with your delicate skin and tender flesh? The fields in our Pashi village are almost over. Who is still in a strong position? I glanced at the iron in his hand, then looked at the wasteland around me, and had an idea in my mind. "Brother, I will ensure that this field grows well. If you don't believe it, give me a small piece of trial. If I do not, I will give you a small piece of advice. What if I don't let me leave?" He was stunned for a moment, as if he hadn't expected that I would say this. After a while, he muttered, "Okay, there are so many places, and it's also wild. My name is Zhao Xinyu, who is the head of the village. If you really have the ability, I won't even slap you. Let's go back with me first. Don't stand on this road, and you're staring at the wilderness in the mountains, but no one will save you." I followed him, my voice relaxed. Zhao Yinyo looks rough, but his words are honest and he should not be a bad person. On the way, he chatted with me for a few words, and I realized that this place is called Qingyun County, which belongs to the remote area in the south. It is surrounded by mountains and is full of wars outside. The people in the village have long been rude and cannot afford to pay the tax, let alone eat. When I arrived at Zhao Yinyo's house, it was actually a broken thatched hut. There were no tables inside, only a earthen kong and several broken bowls. His wife saw me, her eyes filled with a ward, and she hid in a few places with a thin child. Zhao Xinya didn't care, so he scooped a bowl of water from the jar and said cheerfully, "Brother, don't bother with it. This is the condition at home, and even the bran is almost impossible to eat. If you can really come out, the villagers will guarantee that you will be the ancestor." I took the bowl and took a sip of water with a fishy smell of mud, and my heart was filled with scent. As a modern person, when did you see the scene? But the more I feel like I have to fuck. With the system in hand and the seeds are available, you can't sit there and wait, right? Brother Xinyu, how much more useful land is in our village? I put down my bowl and opened the door to see the mountain. Zhao Xinyu smiled bitterly and pointed out the window. There are quite a lot of land, but most of them are deserted, and no one is strong and open. In addition, the mountain torrents in front of the village are full of mud, and everything is dead. There are small fields in the east of the village, which can be used even harder. Why don't you go and take a look first? I didn't say anything, I replied in the first place. The Zhao iron cow took me to the east of the village. Sure enough, there were small fields, probably less than a single one. The grass was taller than the people, and the soil was full of stones, and the pressure roots were not as good as things. I squatted down and grabbed the soil, rubbed it, and found that the soil was still fertile, but it was lack of water and the surface layer was cracked. System, analyze the conditions of this area. I silently said in my mind that the panel erectile squadron and the brain jumped out of the data. The soil is medium in fertility and severe water shortage. It is recommended to turn the soil deep, remove grass, diversion and irrigation, which is suitable for planting drought-resistant crops. It is recommended to use high-yield rice seeds in backpacks. I was delighted. With the guidance of the system, this place should be saved. I turned my head to Zhao Xinyo, Brother Zhao Nyo, I can handle this place, but I have to clean up the grass and turn over the soil first, and I have to find a way to divert water. Can you help me find a few people? When Zhao Hanyu heard this, his eyes lit up, but he immediately snatched his head. There are people, but everyone is too tired to be exhausted, and no one is willing to waste time. If you can control your food, you probably can call a few. I heard it, it was difficult for me. There's nothing on you, so where's the food? But when you think about it, isn't the system an initial bonus? I opened my backpack and found that in addition to the seeds, there was also a small bag of food, marked with the emergency bag, which cost about 10 people a day. I gritted my teeth and decided to take this top first. Okay, I care about the food, but in just one day, I will finish the work of a bowl of rice for each person. How about it? Zhao Ichio's eyes were straightened and he pointed, "Ching ching ching, I'll call people here." You wait. After saying that, he ran away, as if he was afraid that I would regret it. It took him no time to come, and he brought 5 or 6 villagers, all of whom were yellow-skinned and thin, with a hint of hope in his eyes. As soon as I told the matter of the bag, they were full of horses and fucked, holding the shaved head and knife and began to clean up the grass. I didn't care, I picked up the raw grill and fucked it together. This job is really not something that humans can do. The sun is so poisonous that I sweat heavily and my back is sore. But when I saw the villagers around me gritting their teeth and fucking them, I felt embarrassed to secretly take it. The system will occasionally pop up a prompt, telling me which piece of soil needs to be dug deep and which piece of grass roots needs to be pulled clean, which has improved the efficiency a lot. After working hard for most of the day, the grass was almost cleaned up, and the fields were also turned over, revealing the dark soil. Zhao Ichuan wiped his sweat and grinned, "Brother Feng, your method really works. It looks like it. But what about the water? The nearby rivers are dry, so we can't rely on the rain, right?" I clicked the head, which is indeed a big problem. The system prompts that there's a stream on the nearby mountain, but the road is difficult to walk, so you have to repair a canal to guide it down. I told Zhao Xinyo that. He patted his chest. Tell me this job. I am very strong, and I will take a few people to explore the way to ensure that the water is brought in. I responded with a smile, and I felt a little uneasy. There are so many wars here, and I heard on the mountain that there are still bandits, so the water diversion incident is not that simple. However, there is no other way at the moment, so I can only take one step at a time. In the next few days, I took the villagers to continue to prepare the ground and carefully scattered the seeds given by the system. This type of high-yield rice is a modern improved product, drought-resistant and disease-resistant, and has a short growth cycle. If it can be achieved, it will ensure that this person can eat. However, the number of seeds is limited, so I can only try a small piece first and then expand the scale when the harvest is ready. The Xiaonyo was not idle either. He took people up the mountain to explore the road. Sure enough, he found a stream. Although the water flowed not much, he was reluctant to use it. They started digging the canal, but they didn't expect that they had a nuisance after only 2 days. That evening, Zhao Bull ran back with a blue nose and said panting, "It's not good. There are people walking on the mountain, saying it's Wei Changong's man." He insisted that the stream was their ground, and he didn't let us draw water, but he also injured 2 brothers. My heart sank. Who's Wei Changgong? After hearing the Iron Giant, I realized that this guy was a local tycoon in Qingyun County. He was helping the thugs under his hands. The taxes and resources in the village were all beyond his hands. This person heard that he was cruel and ruthless, and if he dared not accept it, he would just scold him. They still let go and say that people from outside you are restless, and everything is free, which makes you understand and avoid the good things that hurt him. Zhao Xinyo gritted his teeth, his fists clenched. I sneered and thought to myself that Changgong Wei really regarded himself as a local emperor. But it is definitely not possible to fight head-on now. I have no soldiers and no weapons like that. I can only calm down the situation first and find opportunities before talking about it. Brother Xinyu, don't worry, let's not conflict with them for now. I will think about the water issue again. I can't let everyone waste my time. I patted his shoulder and quickly changed my mind in my brain. There is also a base toolkit on the system panel that is not picked up, which may help you. That night, I lay in the broken thatched hut, turning around and unable to sleep. The outside sounded like a whirring sound, as if it could overturn the roof at any time. I was both angry and helpless in my heart. When I traveled to this ghost place, it was so difficult for all places. Is it difficult to really start conquering the world from the beginning? Just as I'm thinking, he suddenly heard a sound of footsteps outside the house, so light that he could hardly hear it. I sat up, grabbed the beef beside me, and held my breath. The door was pushed open with a squeak, and a black shadow flashed in and said in a low voice, "Don't act, I'm not here to harm you." I was stunned and looked at it in the moonlight. A woman was wearing coarse cloth clothes and a cloth scarf wrapped around her head, and couldn't see her face clearly. She saw me holding the head of the pants and smiled lightly. "Little brother, I'm not young. My name is Yunyang, I live in the mountains. I heard that you will come and see it in person." I was full of doubts, but seeing that she was not armed with weapons and her temperament did not seem to be enemies, I put down my head. "Mom Yun? Why are you looking for me to fuck me? Isn't you afraid of people in the village going to miss this midnight?" She walked to the window and the moonlight shone on her face. Only then did I see clearly that she was pretty, but there was a sensation of sang in her eyes. She said in a low voice, "I know some herbs and old methods. I heard that you are in trouble and may be able to help you. However, I have a condition." "What conditions?" I asked. She smiled and did not answer directly, but said, "When the farms in your fields grow, I will tell you again. I will help you solve the problem of water tonight. I have a way to make Wei Changgong's people dare not walk on the road in the stream on the mountain." I heard a fog, but looking at her mysterious appearance, she didn't seem to be bragging. I thought to myself that there's no other way now, so I might as well believe her and say, "Okay, what do you think?" Yun Yang clicked a little, lowered her voice, and told me all the ways she did. My eyes lit up after hearing this. Although this method was a bit risky, if it worked, it might really make Wei Changong eat a bait. The next morning, it was dawn, so I got up. My brain was covered with the methods that my mother told me last night. To be honest, this plan sounds a bit funny, like a gambler, but there is no other way to go now, so I can't let the fields die, right? I washed my face, put on my torn clothes, and decided to discuss it with Zhao Zinia first. I was not far away from Zhao Yu's house. I knocked on the door. He was squatting in the yard and polishing an old knife. When he saw me, Lima stood up and asked with a smile, "Brother Shifeng, what happened? Didn't you think of a way last night? That bastard is not easy to mess with. We must be eating." I lifted my hand and told him not to worry. I gave Yunyang a low voice and roughly explained Yunyang's plan. After hearing this, his eyes were as if they were copper-shaped. After a while, he came back to his senses, patted his thighs and said, "This method is really good? Who is Yunyang? Why dare to touch Wei Changong's ground plate? Wouldn't she betray us, right?" I smiled bitterly, and I was not sure, but I still looked confident. "Brother Xinyu, we are now people who have no way out. It's better to sit and wait for a while. Yunyang doesn't look like a bad person. Since she dares to propose this method, she should be sure. We will do what she said and become the best. If I don't achieve it, I owe you a piece of cake." Zhao Zinia slapped his head and sighed, "Okay, I'll hear you. I'll call you a few brothers now, let's fuck you tonight." After saying that, he turned into the house and took a handful of iron, and went out to find someone. According to Yunyang's plan, we have to take advantage of the night to touch the mountain, avoid Wei Changong's eyes, and move our hands directly up the stream. She said that although the thug was fierce, it was not a big deal. As long as they felt that there was something strange on the mountain, they would not dare to guard the stream anymore. How to do it? She gave me a bag of herbal medicine last night, saying that it could produce a strange smell, and it was a bit amazing, enough to scare those people. In the evening, the Zhao Iron Cow came with 3 villagers. They were all young and powerful men in the village. Although they were as thin as bamboo poles, they had a sense of ruthlessness in their eyes. I took out the herb powder and gave them a small portion each. Ding said, "I will go up the mountain and hear my signal. Who should not come? We are not going to fight, but to scare people, do you understand?" Several people answered it, and although they were still a little bulging in their hearts, looking at the herbs in my hands, it seemed like they had a little more energy. As it got dark, the 5 of us quietly took out the village and headed towards the stream along the mountain road. In Qingyun County, the mountain road is extremely shattered, and the foot is covered with gravel, so you will fall and fall if you are not careful. The moonlight can barely illuminate the road ahead, but the trees around it are black and stressed. When the wind blows, the leaves rustle, which makes people feel the backs hustle. After walking for most of the time, I finally arrived at the upper reaches of the stream and heard the sound of the gurgling water from afar. I asked the big guy to squat down first and lay in the grass to observe. Sure enough, there were 3 Hanks on the stream, wearing coarse cloth shirts and sticks in their hands, chatting around a bonfire. There were still several broken swords on them, and it seemed that they were the thugs sent by Wei Changong to show Shui. "Shifeng, what should I do? They are not many people, so let's just rush over." Zhao Yinyo asked in a low voice, his fists clenched tightly, as if he was about to jump up to fuck the frame at any time. I shook my head and said in a short voice, "Don't urge, follow the plan. You go to the left a few times, find a splash, sprinkle the herb powder, remember not to let yourself be. I'm making some silence here to attract their attention. When they panic, we'll retreat and don't fight." The ox was spotted by the head and quietly walked over with people. I took a deep breath, squeezed a few stones from the ground, aimed at the bushes beside the bonfire, and threw them over. The stone hit the branch, making a paw sound, and Lima was amazed by the thugs. They stood up with a swish and looked around with the stick. One of them shouted loudly, "Who is there? Let me roll it out." I hid in the grass and said nothing, and I silently spent time in my heart. At this time, the wind was just right, and Zhao Niu and the others had already sprinkled the herb powder. A strange smell came over, like a sour smell mixed with burnt grass roots, which made people want to cough. The few people heard the smell when they heard the smell, and their faces changed. One of them covered their noses and said, "What's the smell? What's going on here? Isn't there anything that is not clean, right?" Another little bit of shy legs began to shake, and he said in a daze, I heard that there were ghosts in this mountain. There were still some kids who died a few years ago. Let's not guard it. Go back and say something to your head." The headman still wanted to snatch his head, and said, "I'm afraid of a bull. Isn't it just a weird smell? I don't believe there is a ghost." But as soon as the voice fell, a few more stones threw away from the iron cow, smashing the bushes, as if there was really something moving. In addition, the strange smell became more and more heavy, and the head's face turned white. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "Go away. Go back to the poster, there is no match for this place." Seeing them packing up their things and running down the mountain in a panic, a stone in my heart finally landed on the ground. Zhao Yinyo and the others came back, holding their smiles, and whispered, "Brother Xiaofeng, this method is really absolute. That helps Seiko run faster than the rabbit, and I guess she will never dare to come in the future." I smiled and patted his shoulder and said, "Don't be too early, we have to dig the canal tightly so that they won't come back to their senses and come again to find trouble." That night, we took advantage of the night and started digging the canal with simple tools. The mountain road is not easy to walk on, the soil is covered with stones, and the hands are worn out when they are dug, but who is not tired either? After all, if this water is brought down, the fields will be alive and everyone will have some hope for their lives. When the sky was about to dawn, a rough canal was finally dug out, and the water from the stream flowed down. Although it was not much, it was enough to irrigate the trial field. I watched the water flow into the fields, and I couldn't tell the truth in my heart. Zhao Xinya wiped his sweat and grinned and said, "It's done. Once this water comes, the harvest will definitely grow. You are really capable." I smiled and didn't say anything. I knew in my heart that this was just the first step. Wei Changdong's people were frightened, but he was not easy to fool himself. He probably would know about this soon and might come to the door. However, now that there is water in the fields, the seeds are also sown. As long as the crops can grow, we will have the confidence to deal with them. For the next few days, I spent every day in the fields, staring at the trial area. The system occasionally jumped out a prompt, telling me when to drain water, when to weed, and when to prevent swelling. These high-yield rice is indeed extraordinary. In just a few days, buds emerged, and the green patches were so hot that people could see them. After hearing this from the village, I came to see the strange thing. I was surprised to find that I couldn't hold my mouth and muttered, "How is this possible? It's so fast in just a few days? Brother Feng, why don't you really have any magic?" I hurriedly slapped my hand and explained with a smile, "What kind of immortality is that I have chosen a good seed, and the water and soil are suitable for me. If you believe me, follow me in the future and ensure that you can eat." The big guy heard it. Although he was half believing and half doubted, there was a little hope in his eyes. Many people took the initiative to help, and even women and half-aged children came, and the fields were as hot as the new year. But the good times didn't last long. After a few days, the trouble really came to the door. At noon that day, I was weeding the fields with the oxen. A team of people walked towards the village. The leader was riding horses, wearing robes, full of flesh on his face, and followed by more than a dozen thugs, a fierce god. As soon as Zhao Yinyo saw it, his face changed, and he said in a short voice, "It's not good, it's Wei Changdong. This guy is here by himself, and it's probably you're here." My heart was tight, but my face was still calm. I stood up and patted the mud on my hands and went up to meet it. Chang Wei was riding on the road, looking down at me from a high place. His eyes were like a knife, and he sneered, "Are you the forest wind coming from outside? I heard that you are quite able to break the crap. The water on the mountain dares to move, and there are still flowers in the fields. Who gave you the sacrificial pie?" Although I was scared, I still replied with a hard head, "Wei, I can't say that. The water on the mountain is from God. Who should use it? People in our village want to fill their stomachs, don't they? President Wei heard it respectfully, his face became even more intense, and he hummed, "Who is it not enough? The lands of Qingyan County are all my own. You, as a visitor, dare to act here? I came here today to tell you that you can't get enough of this place, and you can't use water. I know you, and you can't get out of Pashi village, otherwise you will look good." The Zhaozi couldn't listen, so he clenched his fists and was about to rush up. I hurriedly slapped him and said to Chang Wei with a smile, "Wei, you are a big shot in Qingyan County. What are the differences with us? The ground is so kind, but when the food grows, it will be good for you, right? If you collect more taxes, you will have a glory on your face." I said this in half soft and half hard. Chang Wei was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't expect me to talk back like this. He squinted his eyes and looked at me, sneered, "Boy, you're pretty good at talking. Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to continue to grow, but you have to pay half of the harvest to me, otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." After saying that, he swung his hand and turned away with the man, leaving behind a smoke. I looked at his back and felt angry, but I also knew that it would definitely not work if I had to force it now. Zhao Yinyo stomped his feet in anger and said, "This bastard, why should you take half of us?" "Yes, we can't answer." I patted his shoulder and said in a low voice, "Don't worry, the answer is that the answer is, but on the day of harvest, it may not be certain how much they will take. We have to seize the time, expand the fields, and improve the food. Only when we have the best time can we fight with them." In the next few days, I brought the villagers to work hard and opened up several wastelands around me. The system gave me a batch of seeds. Although there were not many, it was enough to add a few more land. At the same time, I began to think about how to prevent Wei Changgong. This guy obviously was not a good man and might send someone to fight. At this time, Yin Yang appeared again. That night, she was still the same, quietly touching the thatched hut where I lived, holding a small bag of grass medicine in her hand, and smiling, "Little brother, did you hear that Wei Changgong came to the door? It seems that your field has attracted a lot of people's eyes." I replied unhappily, "My mother Yun, your method works, but I also roasted me on the fire. Changgong asked me half of the rice, what should I do? I can't really give it to him, right?" She smiled lightly and sat down at the window. The moonlight shone on her face, her eyes were still so deep and unpredictable. "It's your business or not. I just care about helping you solve the problem in front of you. This set of herbs can prevent damage and spread in the fields to ensure that your crops grow better. In addition, I will teach you another way to deal with Wei Changgong's people." As soon as I heard it, Lima came to his heart and listened to her details. Although Yin Yang is mysterious, she can help her every time she makes a move. I am both curious and grateful to her. The method, she said, was not complicated, but it required a little care and patience. After listening, I felt confident and decided to try it as she said. As the days passed, the crops in the fields were gratifying, and the green area made the villagers' eyes straight. Zhao Hania laughs every day and says to everyone, "Brother Feng is the lucky star of our village. When this food grows up, who dares to bully us?" But I know in my heart that Wei Changgong would not let it go. Next, I guess there is still a tough battle to fight. Sure enough, not long after, Wei Changgong sent someone again. This time, he did not come to collect the food, but directly took a helper to help the thug, saying that we were going to tear down our canal, saying that we had violated his rules. I looked at the crops in the fields and felt a little nervous. I decided not to retreat anymore. It was time to use the method taught by Yin Yang to deal with them. I stood beside the field and watched the thug sent by Wei Changgong walking towards the canal. My heart was filled with tension. They held iron and sticks in their hands, and the head full of flesh, and walked around and said, "Lin Xiaofeng, you are so fucking irresistible. Wei left you a way to survive, but you still dare not listen? I won't demolish this canal today, I will take your surname." The ox stood beside me, clenched his fists, his face was full of temper and said in a low voice, "Xiangfeng, this helps you as he is really bullying. If we fight, we can't let them destroy the fields. Several villagers next to me were also holding shaved heads and knives. Although their calves were a bit dirty, there was a sense of dissatisfaction in their eyes. I took a deep breath, suppressed the fire in my heart, and let everyone not move first, then went up to me, and said to the leader with a smile, "Brother, don't rush to move, I'm fine. This canal has been demolished, the fields have no water, and all the crops will die. We can't hand over the food that Wei Bei wants by then. Do you think this is the case?" The leader sneered and spat, "Stop talking about these things with me." Wei Bei said, "You are restless outsiders, the place is fake, and the turtle is real. I won't give you some teaching today, you really think you are the local emperor." After he said that, he slapped his hand, and the thug behind him rushed over, and the iron slammed directly at the mound of soil at the canal. Seeing that they were really about to move, I felt a slight feeling in my heart, and I shouted, "Stop it! Who dares to move this canal? Don't blame me for turning my face." The shout was full of excitement, which made the helper startle and stopped his movements. The leader turned over and looked at me with his eyes squinted, as if he didn't expect me to be so hard, and hummed, "Yeah, boy, are you tall? Turning on your face? Just flirt with these few mud legs?" I ignored his ridicule, turned his head to wink at the Xiao iron cow and said in a low voice, "Brother Xiao, please press Yin Yang, prepare for it." Xiao pointed the head, quietly retreated to the back, and took several villagers to the side of the haystacks on the field. I continued to delay time and said to the leader with a smile, "Brother, why don't we talk about it before we get started? What Wei wants is food, not this canal, right? Why should we make things stiff?" He choked by me, as if he couldn't react, but his face was still so heavy that it could drip. He gritted his teeth and said, "Don't waste. I'm here to tear down the canal today. If you talk too much, I'll clean it up together," he said, and he wanted to do it again, but at this moment, a sharp whistle suddenly came from the field, and then a sensation came out from behind the haystack, making people cough. "What's the matter? Who's going to make trouble there?" The leader panicked and turned around and looked around with the man, but he didn't see anything clearly. That smoke was taught by Yin Yang. She used the herb powder she gave to mix with dry grass to ignite. The smell came out was both amazing and strange. After a long time, I was dazzled. I took advantage of their distraction and shouted, "Brothers, protect the canal." Zhao Xinyu and others heard the signal, and drove out from the haystack with their heads and knives. Although they didn't really fight, they shouted loudly, as if they were really trying their best. The helper's eyes were so smoked that he couldn't even open. He heard the sound of killing here, and he was furious. The leader wrote a few sentences and tried to calm people, but the smoke became more and more heavy. They couldn't stand their feet at all and coughed and retreated. When I saw the timer, I carried the ox and the others to press forward, and shouted, "Who dares to move the canal, we have nothing to do with whom. This is God's reward, so don't try to snatch it." After rushing through this, the helper finally couldn't hold back. The leader gritted his teeth and threw down a sentence, "Lin Xiaofeng, please wait for me, this matter is not over." After saying that, he ran away in shame with the man, and even the iron horns threw down several. I looked at their backs and felt relaxed, but I also knew that this was just a temporary force to retreat. Wei Changgong would definitely not be able to be willing to rest. Zhao Ichio wiped his sweat and grinned and said, "This method really works. That helps Shizi run faster than a dog. I guess he has to tell Chang Wei when he goes back. What should we do next?" I patted his shoulder and said in a deep voice, "Stay calm first, the fields cannot be broken, and the canals cannot be blocked. We have to take the time to put away the food. Only with the food can people have a foundation. By then, Chang Wei will come again, and we are not afraid." In the next few days, the villagers were even more frugal. Everyone knew that this land was the lifeblood, and no one wanted to let Wei Changgong take him away. The system prompts that the crops are about to mature. I stare at the rice ears in the fields every day, count the harvest days, and let the iron cows take people and fly to guard the canal to prevent anyone from stealing in the middle of the night. Sure enough, after a few days, Wei Changgong came again. This time he led his own team, riding horses, and brought more than 30 people, which made the entrance of the village ejaculation. He sat on the road, his face was blue and his eyes seemed to be about to eat people. He sneered at me, "Lin Xiaofeng, you really have such a boy? Do you dare to fight with my people? If I don't throw away your broken village today, I won't be Wei." My heart sank, knowing that I could not hide this time, but I still put on my face and said with a smile, "Wei, we have something to say. You are a big shot in Qingyun County, so you can't get along with us. The food in the fields will be collected immediately. I will hand it half of it to you by then. How about it?" Wei Chang hummed respectfully, and refused to take this trick. He said, "Don't talk to me about these things. I'm here today, not to eat, but to take your life. Brothers, give it to me and burn the village. It depends on who dares to disobey." The thug behind him heard the order, and Lima rushed over, holding a torch and a knife stick in his hand, shaking it. People in the village saw this and their faces turned pale, but who did not retreat and held the head and knife in front of the field. Zhao Yinyo gritted his teeth and said to me in a low voice, "Just fight hard. At worst, you can't let this bastard destroy our efforts." I was a little bit, and I made the worst plan in my heart, but at this moment, a rapid horse hoof sound suddenly came from afar, breaking the tight atmosphere. I turned around and saw a scattered burrow on the mountain road. More than a dozen riders rushed towards this side, and the leader was Yun Yan. She was wearing a cloth towel on her face, and a long bow in her hand. Her aura was completely different from the mysterious mountain woman before. Although the person behind her was dressed in a bad state, her eyes looked scattered, like a veteran who had been on the sand for a long time. Wei Chang saw the situation, his face changed, and he shouted with a brow, "Who are you? Do you dare to interfere in my leisure?" Yun Yan held the horse, took off the cloth scarf, revealing a cold face, and there was an unquestionable majesty in her voice. "Wei Chang Gong, this Qingyun County is not enough to cover the sky with your hands. Lin Xiaofeng's fields are to save the people on this land. If you dare to move, I guarantee that you will regret it." Chang Wei was stunned for a moment, as if he had recognized Yun Yan. There was a slight flickering on his face, but he still said with a stern head, "Humph, Yun Yan, you are just a woman hiding in the mountains, and you dare to challenge me? Let's take a look today. You have a few pounds." After saying that, he waved his hand and signaled his hand to take action. But Yun's mother didn't give him any chance. She raised her hand and an arrow shot out, hitting the shoulder of a thug by Wei Changgong. The man fell to the ground with a cry. The people behind her also fought back, drew out their weapons, and confronted Wei Changgong's men. People in the village saw someone helping each other, and the military was greatly boosted. The Iron Cow roared and rushed up with the people. The two sides instantly fought into a group. Although I didn't know how to fight, I didn't care. I took the pants and helped me fight, and quickly moved my mind. The system panel suddenly popped up with a prompt: "Crisis incident was detected, unlocking the temporary bonus, base-based trap prevention and trap-making pictures." My eyes lit up, and I opened the tilt and saw that there were several simple trap production methods. Although it was not fatal, it could delay time. I greeted several villagers with a stern voice, and according to the system's guidance, I dug several pits in the field, buried bamboo sticks, and sprinkled some grass powder around it to create a strange smell. Wei Changgong's man accidentally stepped in, screaming in pain, and the attacking head Lima was cut off. Yun Yang was even more brave. Although she didn't have many people, she cooperated with her tacit understanding and forced Wei Changgong's thug. The battle lasted for half a while, and Wei Changgong finally couldn't hold on. His men were injured and ran away. Even his arm was damaged by Yin Yang's arm with an arrow, gritting his teeth in pain. He looked at the mess, glared at me hatefully, and threw a sentence: "Lin Xiaofeng, I remember you. This revenge will be reported today." After saying that, he fled with a defeated army. Looking at their backs away, the villagers burst into shouts, and the Iron Cow hugged me excitedly, laughing, "So, it's done. This bastard is gone. Our fields are saved." I smiled and patted his back, not so relaxed in my heart. Although Wei Changong retreated, he was vindictive and said that he might be reborn. Yin Yang put away the bow and arrow, walked over and pointed at me, with a little appreciation in her eyes. "Little brother, I'm having sex well." Although Wei Changong is a bad guy, he dare not act rashly anymore. "You can feel at ease." I hurriedly said thank you, and couldn't help asking, "Yin Yang, what are you here? Why are Wei Changong afraid of you?" She smiled and did not answer directly, but said, "I will tell you about my business again in the future. The most important thing to do now is to keep the food, and the people of Qingyun County are waiting for you to help you." After speaking, she turned away with the man, and her back disappeared on the mountain road, relying on the mysterious secret of the old god. In the next few days, the villagers began to harvest crops. The rice ears in the fields were heavy, and the harvest was better than expected. The system prompts that the production of these high-yield rice is 3 times that of ordinary crops, and people in the village can still save a lot. Zhao Yinyo looked at the rice dumplings, his eyes were red, and he choked and said, "Brother Feng, we have been through it. We have been eating this rice dumpling for several years." I smiled and pointed, just thinking about the next step in my heart. With food, Pashi village is stable, but there are countless villages like ours in Qingyun County, and the people are still suffering from fertility. I have to promote the method of planting fields so that more people can live a good life. The system also jumped out of the new task, extend the planting scale and affect the surrounding villages, and the award is Advanced Agricultural Toolkit. I decided to start from several small villages around and teach them high-yield crops, and build canals and build villages to slowly form a self-sufficient small alliance. Zhao Xinyo heard my thoughts and patted his chest and said, "Shifeng, you can do whatever you say. With the help of the monk, no one dares to bully us anymore." As the days passed, the reputation of Pashi village became popular. People from nearby villages came to visit, and even some small forces took the initiative to show their goodwill and wanted to cooperate with us. Although Wei Changong is still in Qingyun County, he has never dared to come and ask for trouble again since he ate the last time. I know that this is just the tranquility before the rain, and the real challenge is still behind. That evening, I stood by the field, watching the rice fields under the sun. The golden rice waves were rising and falling, and I couldn't tell the truth in my heart. Behind him, Zhao Hanyu and several villagers were discussing tomorrow's activities, and their laughter came, full of hope. I took a deep breath, held the head in my hand tightly, thinking, no matter what kind of storm there will be in the future, we can always withstand it. This field will eventually become a piece of pure land in a turbulent world.